Welcome to Celebrity Grave Hunting. Today's tip, bring your phone charger. Welcome to Celebrity Grave Hunting. I am your host, Ryan. I am so excited that you decided to come along with me today, again for another hunt. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. So, we are on our way to Hartsdale, New York to visit the beautiful Ferncliff Cemetery. Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York is about 30 miles north of New York City. Fortunately, our route will take us around the city, so traffic gods willing, do not spite us today. We will be visiting 5 notables today, and we're going to be doing something a little different. We will be visiting mausoleums today. We will be seeing 3 incredible mausoleums. This is kind of a wealthy area of New York in the suburbs, so a lot of famous people use their facilities. The crematorium, in fact, has seen the likes of John Lennon, Yul Brynner, Jim Henson. It's quite a notable place. I've been going there probably for the last 10-15 years of my life sporadically. It's just a really nice complex. You can spend probably days wandering it. It's that big. So we'll be going again to 3 different mausoleums. The first mausoleum we'll be going to today is called the Shrine of Memories, and we'll first be visiting Basil Rathbone. Now, who is Basil Rathbone? Well, he was an actor of stage, screen, and radio. Born Philip St. John Basil Rathbone on June 13, 1892 in Johannesburg, South Africa to British parents, fleeing the country, returning to England when Basil was just 3 years old because his father was being accused of espionage. Basil made his first stage appearance in 1911 as Hortensio in The Taming of the Shrew. He quickly began touring with his cousin, Sir Frank Benson's company of actors, performing in the United States in 1912, making his London stage debut in 1914 later that year, but unfortunately he was called into active duty for World War I. Basil started as a private in the British Army, ultimately achieving the rank of captain. Sadly, he lost his brother John in combat. He served in the Army as well. In September 1918, he was awarded the Military Cross for conspicuous daring and rescue on patrol. Upon the war's end, Basil returned straight to the theater. Soon in 1921, Basil began acting in motion pictures. Starring in silent films, he was easily able to make the transition into talking pictures. His ability as a stage actor helped him orate, whereas other silent film actors were hired solely on their looks, and they couldn't talk. Basil could orate. He was known for playing early swashbucklers and suave villain-esque rogues. His credits include David Copperfield from 1935 and The Adventures of Robin Hood in 1938, playing Guy of Gisborne, whom film buffs consider his greatest villain role. He performed in numerous horror films at the time, yet it was his classical acting in 1936's Romeo and Juliet that he earned his first Academy Award nomination, and again in 1938 in If I Were King. With all his great achievements on the silver screen, Basil himself always insisted to be remembered as a stage actor. However, he will always be most widely remembered for playing Detective Sherlock Holmes on the screen 14 times between 1939 and 1946, including radio dramas of Sherlock Holmes that ran concurrently with those screen series. Despite his previous success, Basil was unable to shake the typecast of playing Sherlock Holmes. Resentful of the typecasting that he endured, Basil did not renew his contract with MGM and returned to the stage. Later in his career, he appeared on Broadway numerous times. He did anthology work on television from time to time. Plus, he did not stay away from movies, appearing with fellow original gangster horror legends like Boris Karloff and Vince Price and Peter Lorre in 1963's Comedy of Terrors. Great film. Check that out. I'm not being biased. For his work, he has received 3 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for film, radio, and television. Basil died suddenly of a heart attack in New York City on July 21st, 1967, at the age of 75. So we will be visiting him, Basil Rathbone. Legend in life, not forgotten in death. When we visit Basil, again, I've been visiting this place a while. He is very, very high up, so I hope we'll be able to get a good view of him. The mausoleums, two of the 3 mausoleums are not particularly well lit. The one is very well lit, but this is one of the not so well lit ones, and it has very high ceilings, and Basil is way up there. So we'll do our best. Then, after leaving Basil, we'll be continuing on to the Rosewood Mausoleum. First, we'll be visiting Cab Calloway. Now, who's Cab Calloway? Well, Cab Calloway was first jazz singer, notable band leader, and then actor. Born Cabell Calloway III on December 25th, 1907 in Rochester, New York. His family moved to Baltimore, Maryland in 1919, shortly after his father passed away and his mom remarried. Cab often skipped school to earn money selling newspapers, shining shoes, and working at the racetrack. After getting caught playing dice on the local church steps, his mom sent him to reform school. Now, upon returning to Baltimore, he resumed hustling, but returned to school studies. While in high school in 1922, he began taking private vocal lessons, and much to his parents' disapproval, he began performing in jazz clubs around local Baltimore. He was also a notable athlete. During his senior year, he started playing professional basketball for the Baltimore Athenians, a team in the Negro Professional Basketball League. After graduating high school, Cab enrolled in Crane College in Chicago, mostly to appease his mother, who wanted him to become a lawyer. However, his real education came at night, singing and drumming and being master of ceremonies at Chicago's Dreamland Cafe, the Sunset Cafe, and the Club Berlin. And it was there that he met a young Louis Armstrong, who showed Cab how to sing in the scat style. Cab left school and relocated to New York in 1929, being asked to front the band called the Missourians. And 1 year later, in 1930, the Missourians renamed themselves to Cab Calloway and his orchestra. The band was hired by Harlem's legendary Cotton Club in 1931 to substitute for Duke Ellington and his orchestra when he was away on tour. Their popularity at the club soon led to a permanent residency, and the band also performed twice a week on NBC radio, Now, mind you, during the depths of the Great Depression, Cab Calloway was making $50,000 a year as a young black performer, only 23 years of age. In 1931, Cab Calloway recorded the song Minnie the Moocher, which became his most well-known recording. Following him his entire career, it was the first recording by an African American to sell over 1 million copies, earning him the nickname the Heidi-Ho Man. Cab and Duke Ellington were both hired to perform in short films for Paramount Studios, leading Cab to his first feature film appearance in 1936 alongside Al Jolson in The Singing Kid. 1938, Cab published the book, Cab Calloway's Catalog, A Hipster's Dictionary, the first dictionary published by an African American, and also becoming the official jive language reference book of the New York Public Library System. The ensuing decade saw Cab and his band achieve a constant string of success. His Cotton Club revues in the 1950s saw Cab touring the world from Rio de Janeiro to Paris to Madrid. He remained a household name in the 1960s and 70s, performing on television variety shows and on Broadway in stage roles. In 1980, he was cemented in pop culture legendary status, appearing in The Blues Brothers as the title character's mentor, Curtis. Not to mention his performance of his classic song, Minnie the Moocher, in The Blues Brothers is now regarded as the definitive performance of that song. Cab and his band continued playing around the world in the 1980s and into the 1990s. June 1994, Cab Calloway suffered a stroke while at his home, ultimately dying 5 months later from pneumonia on November 18, 1994. He was 86 years old. So we'll be paying our respects to him. Cab Calloway, legend in life, not forgotten in death. Also in the Rosewood Mausoleum, we will be visiting and paying our respects to Aaliyah. Now, who is Aaliyah? Well, she was a singer and actress, known as the Princess of R&B and also the Queen of Urban Pop. Born Aaliyah Dana Houghton on January 16, 1979 in Brooklyn, New York. Her family relocated to Detroit, Michigan when Aaliyah was just 5 years old. Her mother enrolled her in vocal lessons at a young age. It was a first grade stage play of Annie that inspired Aaliyah to become an entertainer. At age 10 in 1989, Aaliyah appeared on the TV show Star Search. The following year, at only 11 years old, she began auditioning for several major record labels, signing to Blackground Records through Jive at age 12. Her debut record, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, was released when she was just 14. Peaking at 18 on the Billboard charts and certified double platinum, estimated to have sold over 6 million copies worldwide. She released her second album, One in a Million, in 1996, featuring 3 hit singles and selling over 8 million copies worldwide. Mind you, she was still going to school at the same time and somehow managed to maintain and graduate with a 4.0 GPA. Subsequently, the same year that she graduated, she began her acting career in the crime drama New York Undercover. In 1998, Aaliyah became the youngest person ever to perform at the Academy Awards when she sang Journey to the Past from the film Anastasia. Balancing an acting career in films like Romeo Must Die, with her singing career, she released her third album, titled Aaliyah, in October 2000, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard charts and being certified double platinum. On August 25, 2001, Aaliyah was in the Bahamas filming a music video for her song Rock the Boat. Boarding a small plane with 7 friends, plus the pilot for a quick trip back to Florida, the plane crashed shortly after leaving the runway, killing all 8 on board. Aaliyah was only 22 years old. So we will be visiting her, Aaliyah. Legend in life, not forgotten in death. Now, upon leaving the Rosewood Mausoleum, we will pass a nice little quaint garden called Aaliyah's Garden, and the amount of notables that will be driving past is enough for us to warrant a return visit, because outside of these mausoleums, on the cemetery grounds, you have the likes of Malcolm X, Thelonious Monk, my favorite jazz piano player, Jam Master Jay, the great DJ from Run DMC, Ossie Davis, great civil rights activist and wonderful actor, Mabs Mabel, great comedian. So we'll be coming back, so like and subscribe, you don't want to miss when we return. We'll be then visiting today the Ferncliff Mausoleum lastly. That's the original mausoleum on the grounds. It's a great big hulk of a building, which is why I recommend bringing a phone charger, because when you walk through these buildings, it's no pun intended, a dead zone, and with all the concrete that you'll be surrounded by, it's going to suck the battery of your phone dry while it tries to find a signal. So that's local knowledge I gained a long time ago. At the Ferncliff Mausoleum, we'll be visiting Joan Crawford. Now, who is Joan Crawford? Well, she was an actress and a dancer, born Lucille Fay Lesueur on March 23rd. Here's where it gets tricky. We don't actually know her specific year of birth. It's possibly 1948 to 1908. It's one of those years. Born again March 23rd, either between 1904 to 1908 in San Antonio, Texas. Her father abandoned the family when she was only 10 years old. Her mother remarried and the family moved to Lawton, Oklahoma, where her stepfather ran the local opera house. It was there that young Joan Crawford enjoyed watching the vaudeville acts, and it was her ambition to become a dancer. In 1917, the family moved to Kansas City, Missouri. The instability led her schooling to remain just at the primary level. In 1924, she was spotted dancing in Detroit by producer Jacob Schubert, who put her in the chorus line of his show Innocent Eyes on Broadway in New York. After a screen test in New York was arranged, MGM Studios offered her a contract at $75 a week. Her first on-screen appearance was as Norma Shearer's body double. MGM publicity head Peter Smith recognized her ability to become a major star, but did not like her name. And it was after a powwow with studio head Louis B. Mayer that Joan Crawford was born. While pushing her own agenda, she began entering dance contests around Hollywood, ultimately winning notoriety and raising her own prowess around town, making herself a star. Within a few years, she became a romantic lead of MGM's top male actors. In 1928, she became Hollywood's foremost flapper girl after starring in Our Dancing Daughters. Joan Crawford found herself Hollywood's latest it girl, the definition of modern style and femininity in the industry. Her next string of films had Joan embodying the free-spirited, all-American girl, all while she was glamorous and sexy beyond compare. She was quoted once as saying, "If you want to see the girl next door, then go next door." Many of her contemporaries found themselves out of work, not making the transition from silent films to talking films. Joan found the transition easy, practicing her diction to remove her southern accent and taking singing lessons. She became one of the most popular actresses in the world. But The Hollywood Reporter dubbed her box office poison in 1938 as her movies were no longer the top box office earners. Playing a number of different roles, she left MGM and signed with Warner Brothers in the 1940s, earning an Academy Award for Best Actress in 1945 for the film Mildred Pierce. Her career was revitalized. 2 more Academy Award nominations followed in the late 1940s, plus a third in the 1950s. She worked steadily for the next decade. In 1962, Joan Crawford reinvented herself yet again as Blanche Hudson in the film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane alongside Bette Davis. The film was a huge success, recouping its entire budget in 11 days after its release. She continued acting into the 1970s in film and on television. Her personal life, though, saw multiple marriages and scandals with her own children that became their own subjects of books and movies after her passing. And Joan Crawford died of a heart attack in her home on May 10th, 1977. Her age was reported at 69 years old. And finally, we'll be visiting Ed Sullivan today. Who was Ed Sullivan? Well, he was an American television host, a sports and entertainment reporter, and columnist. Born Edward Vincent Sullivan on September 28, 1901, living with his family in Portchester, New York, he was a very gifted athlete in school, earning 12 letters in football, basketball, track, and baseball. This led him to landing his first job after high school as a sports writer for the Portchester Daily Item, which led him to writing for the New York Evening Mail. By 1927, young Edward covered sports for the Associated Press, the Philadelphia Bulletin, the New York Bulletin, and the New York Evening Graphic, ultimately becoming the paper's sports editor. In 1929, he became a columnist for the New York Daily News, the city's largest paper at the time. His column, Little Old New York, saw him writing about Broadway plays, show business, and celebrity gossip. 1933 saw Ed writing and starring in the movie Mr. Broadway, where he takes the audience on a guided tour of the New York hotspots at the time, meeting celebrities and entertainers along the way. He soon became a powerful voice in the entertainment world, producing and hosting vaudeville shows while still writing his entertainment column throughout the 1920s and 30s. 1941, he became host of the Summer Silver Theater variety program on CBS Radio. This led CBS to have Ed move to television in 1948 to host the variety show Toast of the Town, which would later become The Ed Sullivan Show, broadcasting weekly each Sunday at 8 p.m. on your local CBS television affiliate. Having the eyes of the nation at the 8 p.m. Sunday time slot, The Ed Sullivan Show became one of the most important shows of the 1950s and 1960s. A true variety show featuring singers, musicians, comedians, dancers, magicians, all juxtaposed with Ed Sullivan's almost comical lack of having a personality. Pop culture landmark moments became common on The Ed Sullivan Show, with Elvis not being filmed from the waist down, the Beatles' first American television appearance. All these things were just another Sunday for Ed. He charmed families on Sunday nights for 24 years, over 1,000 episodes, showcasing country and western singers when such things were unpopular, giving his stage over to performers of every nation, race, and creed. Saying of his success, quote, "In the conduct of my show, I've never asked a performer his religion, his race, or his politics. Performers are engaged on the basis of their abilities. I believe that this is another quality of our show that has helped win it wide and loyal audience," unquote. 1967, he saw his humble TV studio on Broadway and 53rd officially named the Ed Sullivan Theater, which later saw the long tenure of The Late Show with David Letterman and now is the home of Stephen Colbert's own Late Show. A lifelong smoker, Ed Sullivan was diagnosed in 1974 with advanced esophageal cancer, passing away on October 13th, 1974 at the age of 73. Legend in life, not forgotten in death. We are here at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. Lovely sunny day, but that won't matter because we will be visiting notable celebrities inside. The first is Basil Rathbone, located here in the Shrine of Memories. For extra credit, over yonder is buried Malcolm X, but that will be for a later episode. Now we'll be on our way to visit Calloway and Aaliyah here at the Rosewood Mausoleum. There are two entrances, one in the front, one in the back. For our purposes, it's better to go to the mausoleum here in the back. And lastly, we are here at the Ferncliff Mausoleum. And kid you not, these gold doors weigh about as much as a door from a bank vault. So put your shoulder into it. legends in life, not forgotten in death. Please like and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on our next adventure.